All right, welcome back to another video for Triple Threat Basketball. My name is Brian Hafferkamp. I'm the designer and creator of Triple Threat. And in this series, we're going through some of the features and options that you can use to play Triple Threat Basketball. One of the things that I wanted to do with all of my games is to build in sort of computer or video game style options that you can toggle on and off so that you can play the game the way that you want to play it, not the game that I personally have dictated that you should play it. The game is more open than that. It's not as tightly constricted so that you have to play it a certain kind of way. You can add elements or subtract them as you wish based on the level of detail and realism that you want in the game. So let's go through. This is the new sort of handheld game clock. And this clock is included with the game when you purchase it. You can see that we have our quarters up here. We have an overtime period. And basically, you would just use a marker and then you would mark off what quarter are you in at different times. And then this entire block represents 1 quarter of play. So when you make your way down to 0, then you've obviously moved over to the next quarter of play. So that's how that sort of the basic timing works. Now on each play, you take off 10 seconds, 15, or 25 seconds, depending on when a player shoots the ball. So if a player shoots the ball in this first row, and let's say they come down the floor, the person with the ball takes a shot. That's 10 seconds off the clock. And so then you would just move, 2 spaces. If we were at the very beginning of the game and that was the very first play of the game, you would go 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And so now you're down to 11:50 left in the game. If the player comes down on the second one, you take off 1, 2, 3, 15 seconds. And then if there were 2 passes and the last player was to shoot the ball, then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 25 seconds off the clock. And so that's how possessions work generally when you're using just the regular timing mechanisms. You can see that these are pretty large blocks, so they comfortably fit a regular sized 6-sided die. This is a Monopoly token. So they're pretty big, and you can reuse this sheet. There's some interesting things you can do if you want to protect the sheet. You could put it into, they either have these self-laminating things that you can buy at any office supply store or Amazon or whatever. And you put them in there and you it's sticky and you just put it over the top of the paper. And then you cut whatever excess off that you want. And then you have a laminated sheet. Or you could use a laminating machine if you have one of those, and then just cut the thing to size. And then you could either use something like a die or a marker, that type of thing, a token, in order to go over the sheet. Or you can even use a whiteboard marker and just mark off the time. When you're finished, you just wipe it clean, and then you have a reusable clock. So that was the idea. The idea is not to print this out every single time. The idea is you can print it out once and reuse it. So however that works best for you, those are just a few ideas that I have seen in the community before. Okay, so that is one way to do it. The other way to do it, timing, would be to do by possessions. Now, if you're familiar with Up-Tempo Basketball, which is another basketball game I made, that game also, you can do possessions, or you can do by the clock, so to speak. So with possessions, each team typically is going to have about 100 possessions in a game. So each team gets 50 and a half. And if you're in that range, then historically in the NBA, you're going to be about the average. There were times when it's gone up above, 105 to 115 in terms of how many possessions per game. And then there are times when it's gone below, so 90 to 100 possessions. So if you look at basketball in the 90s, a lot of those teams are between 90 and 100 as far as their possessions per game. You can see that on the PACE, PACE. That's the statistic that tells you about how many possessions per game this team had, that they took per game. So if you look at the PACE, it's anywhere between 95 and 105, which gives you an average of about 100. So I think if you did 100 possessions, you would feel like, okay, there's enough scoring. The game got to where it needed to be. If you wanted to make it a little bit more of a 90s style, then give each team 90 possessions, and it'll bring the scoring down. Because one of the things about this game is each possession that you take away is a possession you can't score. So you can't go back and get points. You can only get points on the possession where you are. So if you pass that point and a possession goes by and you don't score, that's less of an opportunity. Now in up-tempo basketball, you can make up those with runs, right? Scoring runs. But in this game, it's 1-to-1. One possession, that's your shot at points. If it goes by and you don't score, then you're not getting any, there's no way to catch up, so to speak. So if you want to control scoring, you don't like where the scoring is, lower the number of possessions in the game. Okay, like cut out 2 rows here and just say we're going to go down to 2 minutes and we're going to call that it. And so you cut out all of these 2 rows of possessions, or maybe you just want to cut out 1 row or something like that. However you want to do it, that will manipulate the scoring if you want to do that. Okay, couple of other things here. So you see down here we have 2 tables. One's called TV timeouts and one's called end of game fouls. So these are a couple of timing options that you have that you can add into the game. It just adds a little color, adds a little flavor to the game, adds a little detail to the game. At the very end, when I was about to put this out, I thought, do we need to have timeouts in some way? Do those need to be built into the game? And if we do, what does that look like? I've never been good at timeouts and adding them to any game. So if you have any ideas about just regular timeouts and what that would look like, are they even necessary in a game where we don't have an actual clock moving in real time? So I've always kind of struggled with timeouts, whether it's in football or basketball. Baseball, obviously, there are no timeouts. Although I do mound visits in one game that I had. So let's look at TV timeouts first. I was thinking that would be a cool detail. And one of the things that happens in the game and in real basketball is the game just keeps flowing until there's some sort of stoppage of play. And if you were playing with another person, they may not stop the play. You might have to just continue forward. But a TV timeout would be a hard force of a stoppage of the action. And what that would do would allow you to bring in subs and stuff like that. Because I would play the game where I would have to have a stoppage of action before I could bring in a sub. That's how I would play. Because that's how real basketball is. You can't just... It's not like hockey where you can bring people in off the bench on the fly as the ball is going down the court. You have to wait until the ball went out of bounds or there's a made basket. There are certain things, you have to wait for in order to get a new player into the game. So a TV timeout would force these stoppages of play throughout. And that's what happens in real NBA basketball anyway. So I looked up the rules on TV timeouts and how they work and all that kind of stuff. So we do have TV timeouts in our game. And they're denoted here by the colored blocks. So if you look down here in the first quarter at 6 minutes and 3 minutes, so these 2 yellow, goldish yellow blocks, those would be TV timeouts. So either if you land on the 6 and the play is completed, or if you go past the 6 and maybe the play is not completed until the 50-second mark after. Whenever it's completed and the action is stopped, then you would take a TV timeout. We're just going to take a TV timeout here at the 6-minute mark. And the same thing would happen at the 3. And then that happens in the first and the third quarters. But in the second and the fourth quarters, there's a TV timeout at 9, 6, and 3. So there are a few more timeouts in the second quarter and the fourth quarters of the ball game. And you'd have to look up what overtime is. I'm not sure. Probably just like first and third, if I'm guessing. So you have those down here as just a reminder, but also you have them in colors. If you want to take TV timeouts, take TV timeouts. So they're there. And what they do is they force a stoppage of play and allow players to get into the game so you can rotate guys in off the bench. The second chart says end of game fouls. Now, as I played a few close games. Most of them are not like super close, but I played a few close games. And in the close games, you want a way to be able to catch up, right? You want a way to be able to make sure that you make up that 5-point deficit with 2 minutes left. So one of the ways that you can do that in real basketball is by fouling people at the end. So the hope is you foul them, they miss their free throws, and then you make your shots, right? And by trading one free throw for a three-pointer, you've made up 2 points. So that's the goal of the end of the game fouls. And those are actually in here. So if you want to commit an end of the game foul, you would just declare that or make that known in some way in your head, or if you're playing someone, you're going to say, I'm going to foul you with an end of the game foul. And then you would roll to see how much time was taken off. So the foul was successful. You called it out. It's successful. It's going to be a foul. But you would roll, and a 1 to 5 means only 5 seconds is taken off the clock. A 6 to 8 means 10 seconds was taken off the clock. And then a 9 or a 10 means 15 seconds were taken off the clock. So sometimes you see that the ball comes in right away, they get a foul. Sometimes they run around a little bit, they make one pass, they foul the second guy, that would be like 10 seconds off the clock. And sometimes they don't get to the foul for a little bit, right? And it just takes 15 or 20 seconds off the clock and kind of defeats the purpose. But the team with the ball is trying to avoid getting fouled because they're ahead. And so they're trying to run off as much time as they can. So if they can pass the ball without getting fouled, then that means more time is going to run off the clock. So that's sort of the rationale between the end of the game fouls. So you can use that little chart if you want to just call it, we're going to foul this team. And then you would mark their team fouls. If you're in the bonus, then the team shoots 2 free throws. If you're not in the bonus, then they don't shoot 2 free throws. And you would determine who got fouled. You could use your foul column here to determine who got fouled and then who did the fouling as well. So, or you could just use the player who's opposite. So you find out who got fouled and then you use the player who's opposite on the other team for the person who committed the foul. Okay, so those are sort of the clock options that you have. You might come up with other ways to do score or to do the clock, but you have 5-second increments that you can take off. That can be cumbersome for some people. I think once you get into the flow of the game, though, it becomes a little bit easier to just remember, okay, I roll, I've gotten to this part of the roll, I'm going to move the clock. That said, to me, the game becomes immersive. And when the game becomes immersive and not just laborious, like you're trying to labor through the process of the game, but you actually start to see the game and you kind of get into who's taking the shot and this and that, and there's a pass here, and oh my gosh. Once you get into that place, you kind of forget about the clock a little bit. I tend to forget about the clock. So maybe possession based is better for you. So just play the game multiple ways and see how you want to do it. Like I said, we've got 12 across, and if you go down 9, that would, so from here to here, this gets you 96 possessions, which may just be enough for you, and you just stop at 3 and go to the next. Go to the next. Well, that would be a full game, right? This would be a full game worth or a half worth of possessions, and then you go to the next half. So you do 96 per half. That gets you to 192 for the game, and maybe that's enough for you. That would be like 90s style basketball if you were playing that way. Maybe you want to add another column or another row here, and that would get you another 24 possessions, which would be was that 108, so it'd be about 215. And at that point you're playing like 1970s basketball, early 80s. So just adding one more row of possessions here per half would sort of bump you up into maybe the 70s or the 80s, early 80s style of basketball, where they were getting 110, 112 possessions a game. So it just depends on what you want to do and how you want to play that out. Find what's right for you and just go with that, and just be consistent with your timing or not, and just say these two teams, they feel like they should have more possessions. Or maybe you have a team where Patrick Ewing is playing the point and he's not going to be running the fast break. So you got a team of centers against power forwards, or whatever you want to do, man. And you can manipulate the timing however you want to. That's what I'm trying to get at, because there's a lot of options for the timing itself of the game. All right, that's it for timing. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe. And any game news or any sort of videos like this with tutorials or how to do different things are going to come out here and be shared somewhere else. But you can stay ahead with the game, any updates or anything that's coming out with the game by subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps the channel, helps the game to grow, to get in front of more people. The other thing that will help is if you click that little like button, you click that thumbs up. That helps more than you know. And also, if you share the game, if you like the game, just share it with somebody. Share it on a Facebook group or on your Facebook page, or share it on Twitter, or share it on Instagram, or whatever, wherever you are. Share it with your group. Share it on the Delphi forums. I don't get on there too much anymore, but if you want to make it known to the Delphi group, then let them know. Hey, there's a new game I've been playing. It's really great. Go check it out here, and then send them a link to this channel. Send them a link to the website. The website is triplethreatbasketballgame.com. triplethreatbasketballgame.com, and they can check out the seasons that are available, or as they become available, I guess. If you like the game, let me know. I haven't heard a lot of feedback yet. Maybe you guys haven't been playing it. I'm not sure. But I've had several purchases, so thank you to everybody who has supported the game so far. It's very encouraging, and hopefully Rod's Tabletop Hoops YouTube channel recently did another preview, sort of review video of the game, and talking through some of these issues of timing, and talking through some of the issues of the passing and things like that. So I'm just trying to I had this video playlist set out for a while. I wanted to make these videos, just getting some time to do it now. So just to show you some of the options that you can use to play the game, and kind of massage the game and make it the type of game that you want to play, or a game that fits into your lifestyle, or fits into the time that you have to be able to play, or if it's into the level of detail that you want to add into the game. Maybe you don't care about the TV timeouts, or maybe that adds an extra little wrinkle to the game that maybe it feels more realistic to you, or something like that. So that's sort of the hope with these options. And just like a video game, you can tick them on and off. You can turn some on and turn some off, and just kind of make the game that you want to play. That feels right, feels comfortable, feels like it's getting you the right timing, the right stats, etc. that you think is right for the game that you're playing. All right, I think that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.